Good evening, everyone. Let me call to order this meeting of the West Palm Beach City Commission. Today is Monday, March 2nd, 2026. The time is 5 p.m. We will start this meeting off as we do all of our meetings with a moment of silence, please. Madam President, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let me go over the rules of civility that govern this meeting. Officials shall be recognized by the chair and should not interrupt a speaker. Public comment shall be addressed to the City Commission as a whole and not to any individual on the dais or in the audience. Displays of anger, rudeness, ridicule, impatience, lack of respect, and personal attacks are strictly prohibited. Unauthorized remarks from the audience, stamping of feet, whistles, yells, and similar demonstrations shall not be permitted. Please govern yourselves accordingly, as offenders may be removed from the meeting. Also, any person desiring to address the commission shall complete a comment card for each agenda item the person wishes to address, which shall include the person's full name, address, and the numbered agenda item. If the person does not complete the card in its entirety, they will not be recognized. Ms. Johnson, are there any additions, deletions, reorganization of the agenda?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. We do have a proclamation. Today we are proud to recognize Flood Awareness Week and the importance of preparedness, resilience, and public education in protecting our community from flooding. As a voluntary participant in the National Flood Insurance Program, the City of West Palm Beach provides residents with access to flood insurance at reduced premium rates while setting higher regulatory standards to reduce flood risk and minimize potential damage to homes and businesses. Through proactive stormwater management, infrastructure investment, and community education, the City of West Palm Beach continues to demonstrate leadership in protecting residents, businesses, and neighborhoods from flood risk, strengthening resilience today while preparing for the challenges of tomorrow. Flood Awareness Week, as designated by the Florida Floodplain Managers Association, is more than a week of recognition. It is a call to action for our community to increase awareness of flood risk, understand the availability of flood insurance, learn flood protection methods, and prepare for emergencies before storms strike. I, Keith A. James, Mayor of the City of West Palm Beach, do hereby proclaim March 9th through 15th, 2026 as Flood Awareness Week in the City of West Palm Beach. And here to accept the proclamation is Robert Brown, Building Official and Flood Plan Administrator, Robert Norberg, Chairman of the Watershed Advisory Committee, and Ralph Wall, Jr., Management Analyst and CSR Coordinator. Congratulations, gentlemen. X marks the spot. Congratulations. Who is receiving this? I'll let you know. My check. All right. Somebody gonna say some words?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, and the general public. My name is Ralph Wall, Senior Systems, Management Analyst now with Development Services, and I serve as the CRS Coordinator. The CRS program is the commuting rating system that manages our participation in the National Flood Insurance Program. Currently, we're at a Class 5 with the CRS program, which gives us a 25% discount for all policies, flood insurance policies in in the city. We are in the process of trying to get to a Class 3, which would add another 10%. We're in that process right now. I'd like to introduce Robert Norberg. He is the chairperson of our Watershed Advisory Committee. He's been participating on this committee 10 years or more and has been instrumental in a lot of the work and activity we've done. I'd really like to commend the Mayor's Watershed Advisory Committee. These are people from our jurisdiction, from our city. They participate, they're the bankers, they're insurance people, the real estate people, and just citizens who are coming up to the plate and trying to really help promote flood awareness and building resiliency in our community. And they've been very, very active on our committee. They attend the meetings, they do the extra work, and I really appreciate those people. So that's the latest, and we'll hope to be coming back to you with more good news in the very near future.
Well, thank all of you for your work. Thank you. We now have a presentation from our Parks and Recreation Department recognizing the Oscar Strong Foundation for their generous donation of 12 automatic external defibrillators, or AEDs, which have been installed in parks with the athletic amenities across our city. Ms. Rockwell.
Just a second, Mayor. Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. I need to get the computer back up. It fell asleep.
Can someone from IT help her, please?
I got it. Thank you. Third time was the charm. All right, let's start all over again.
The media controls this. We have to figure out. Hold on. Go to the media room. To get the media.
Well, I can start, and we can get to the slides with the pictures as I get going, but I can start without them. Oh, here we go. Well, sort of. All right. Whew. Again, good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, City Administrator Johnson. I am Leah Rockwell. I'm the Director of Parks and Recreation. We are here to celebrate Oscar Strong Foundation. The Oscar Strong Foundation was created in response to a near tragic event involving 6-year-old Oscar. He's here with us today. Oscar, a healthy and active child who loves baseball, collapsed during a game on March 10th, 2024. After being struck in the chest by a baseball, he had no pulse. His mother immediately began CPR and called for an AED, but none was available at the field. Thanks to the rapid response of the West Palm Beach firefighters from Station 2 and the use of an AED, Oscar's life was saved. Oscar was diagnosed with I've been practicing this, Comotio cordis. I got it right? Okay, a rare but often fatal cardiac arrest caused by a blow to the chest. His survival was possible because of the immediate use of CPR and a defibrillator, an AED. This experience inspired his parents to take action. The Oscar Strong Foundation, led by Oscar's mother, Sarah Stube, and co-founder Sarah Mallon, was established to prevent similar tragedies. The foundation promotes CPR training, is increasing AED accessibility, and advocates for proper safety equipment. On February 25th, the foundation installed the first AED at Phipps Park Baseball Complex. On June 6, 2025, Keller Kohler Dye, a recreation manager with us, scheduled a meeting with the co-founders, myself and the fire chief, Diane Mamadi, to determine the possibility of placing AEDs, additional AEDs throughout the park system. This initiative also aligned with the fire department's goal of becoming a heart safety city, which is a designation providing the training and tools necessary for our residents and visitors alike. Through the generosity of the Oscar Strong Foundation and our common goal, a partnership was established to promote CPR training and increase AED accessibility in city parks with the highest level of sports and activities, recreation activities. We currently have 7 AEDs installed, 5 are in the process, and we know more are to come. There's 2 going at Gaines Park. We're waiting for some of the construction to be completed to install those. 2 at Howard Park, 2 at South Olive Park, 2 at Phipps Park, 1 at Mary Brandon, 1 at Lincoln Park, 1 at Hillcrest Bill Moss Paseo, and 1 at Dreer Park, just to start. This is Sarah showing off our beautiful AED stations. This one is at South Olive Park, along with the one at the tennis center, which is one that's installed on the wall. Here are 2 installed at Howard Park, 1 by the basketball courts and 1 by the softball fields. Here is 1 at Mary Brandon softball field. Now, it's important to know that each tower costs $5,200, and the wall-mounted units cost $4,620, plus signage and decals, et cetera. And our city staff are installing these units. The donation so far to date is approximately $48,000 from the Oscar Strong Foundation. Here are some more. This is the first unit that was donated to Phipps Park at the baseball complex. And on the right side of the picture, that is the one that has been recently installed on the fire station on the south side of Phipps Park. This is what the back of the safe stations look like. It tells you the story of Oscar Strong Foundation and that we have the power to save lives by calling 911, starting CPR, and the use of an AED in our parks. I'm going to pass it on to Chief Maddie.
Good evening, everyone. Diana Maddie, Fire Chief. I'm just going to add a little bit more to this presentation. After this incident happened, it kind of spurred our desire to become a heart-safe designated city. And there's 3 goals that go along with that designation: widespread CPR training, accessible AEDs, which means defibrillators in public places, and advanced resuscitation protocols. The fire department already has the advanced resuscitation protocols for our paramedics. What we did since this event is increase our CPR training, and these AEDs helped push us over the mark for what we needed to have AED accessibility in our community. I'm proud to say that West Palm Beach is just the 3rd community in Florida to attain this designation, and if it wasn't for this catalyst pushing us forward, I don't think we would have even ever known about this designation. But it came to the forefront, we went after it, with their help, we've attained this. And I'd like to just say, Kelly Kohler Dyes, we spoke about this several years before this incident even happened, and she said, before I retire, Chief, I want to get AEDs in all of our parks. And I said, that's a great idea, that's something we can work towards. And we were just talking before the meeting on how we never thought it would come this quickly, and through their help, through the Oscar Strong Foundation, we've been able to really make a difference in the lives of our young people in these parks. So thank you so much. This is a picture of Oscar and crew, his brothers, and their mom, Sarah, with some of our firefighters from Station 2, and that's not a peace sign, that's Station 2. So they're all proud to be by Fire Station 2, so thank you so much.
I would like to take this opportunity to allow Sarah to come up and say a few words, because it is her heart and her family, along with her partner, Sarah, one is with an H and one is without an H, who have made this all happen.
Thank you, Mayor James, Commission President Lambert, and the commissioners. Thank you for recognizing the Oscar Strong Foundation tonight and for your commitment to making West Palm Beach a more heart-safe city. Everything OSF has accomplished is because of our incredible board and many of the supporters who have stood behind the mission. Tonight, we are honored to donate 12 Zoll AEDs and 12 save stations to the West Palm Beach Parks and Recreation Department. These save stations house AEDs and make them publicly accessible 24/7 in the places where our kids and families gather to play. 2 years ago, next Tuesday, our son Oscar suffered sudden cardiac arrest from commotio cordis on the baseball field at Phipps Park, the same rare condition that affected Buffalo Bills player Damar Hamlin on Monday Night Football. While the average out-of-hospital cardiac arrest survival rate is around 10%, Oscar beat those odds. He is here today because of 3 critical things. The emergency was recognized immediately, CPR was started without hesitation, and he was shocked with an AED within minutes. If you don't know CPR, please learn it. It saved my son's life, and one day you may need it to save someone you love. High-quality CPR started right away, combined with early defibrillation, can double and even triple a person's chance of survival. Cardiac arrest does not discriminate. It can happen to anyone, anywhere, at any time. More than 350,000 out-of-hospital cardiac arrests occur each year in the United States. Survival averages about 10%, increases to roughly 30% with bystander CPR, and can approach 50% when CPR and an AED are used quickly together. Public education and action save lives. The Oscar Strong Foundation is committed to continuing this work, making our parks and public spaces safer and educating our community on CPR and AED use, because in a cardiac emergency, every second counts. This is a team effort and would not be possible without your partnership. On behalf of the Oscar Strong Foundation, thank you to Fire Chief Diana Matty, the City of West Palm Beach, the West Palm Beach Fire Department, especially Officer Daniel Kelsey and Lieutenant Ashley Bianco, and the Parks and Recreation team, including Kelly, Andrew, and Leah, for partnering with us. The heart of West Palm Beach beats stronger together. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much to the Oscar Strong Foundation. Where's Oscar? You're right in the middle. Stand up. Wow. Well, Oscar, you don't know what you have done because you missed that baseball and let it hit your chest. There will be others who live. So thank you for, not for missing the baseball, but thank you for being you. And thank you for being here. Thanks to the foundation, to all those involved. This is such a wonderful story. Thanks to the Parks and Recreation team, Chief Matty, you and the fire department, everyone who was involved with making this donation a reality. Commissioners, anybody want to say anything? President Lambert, Commissioner Baduzzi.
Thank you so much. In the presentation, it was said, thank you for your generosity of the Oscar Strong Foundation, but I want to echo that as well as add, thank you so much for the courage to share this story and to help save other lives. This is tremendous. It is extremely emotional. I can't even imagine what you went through on that field that day, and to think that we have the opportunity to save many more lives because of what you have done. Thank you so much for partnering with us in the fire department and the city. Thank you.
Commissioner Baduzzi.
Thank you, Mayor.
You know, this is the reason why I'm up here, is to see things like this, that people coming together, recognizing that there's something that can be done to help save lives. And, you know, we used to say in the fire service that CPR saves lives, but we've found that that's really not the case. Early defibrillation saves lives. CPR just keeps them alive until the defibrillator gets there. So this is fantastic. The only other thing I want to say is they have become so affordable that there's home units you can buy now. I have one in my home. My parents have one in their home. My sister has one in their home. I just looked it up. You can find a Philips Heart Start for $775 right now. They have a 5-year lifespan. And, you know, you don't need it until you really need it. And having something like that there that could potentially offer that early defibrillation before our fire rescue even gets there is going to dramatically increase the chance of survival. So I congratulate you. Thank you for this donation.
Fox?
Thank you so much. I echo what my colleagues have said. I just want to ask you if there's anyone watching that wants to support your foundation. Can you tell us how to do that?
Yeah, we have a website,
OscarStrongFoundation.org. Thank you so much.
Okay, anybody else? All right, well, thank you again. Oscar, you still playing baseball? Yeah. All right, good. Keep it up, keep it up. All right, okay. We do have a couple of appointments. Item 8.1, City Commission approval is requested for the mayor's reappointment of Roger P. Jansen to the Downtown Action Committee for a term of 3 years to expire on March 3rd, 2029. Mr. Jansen has served over the maximum allowed number of terms, which is 3, and is required that the City Commission confirm his reappointment. May I have a motion, please?
Mayor, I move approval of the reappointment of Roger P. Jansen to the Downtown Action Committee for a term of 3 years to expire March 3rd, 2029.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and second. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. City Commission approval is requested for the mayor's reappointment of Gabrielle Jaroslavsky to the Historic Preservation Board for a term of 3 years to expire on March 30th, 2029. Mr. Jaroslavsky has served over the maximum allowed number of terms, which is 3, and is required that City Commission confirm his reappointment. Could I have a motion, please?
Mayor, I move the approval of the reappointment of Gabrielle Jaroslavsky to the Historic Preservation Board for a term of 3 years to expire on March 30th, 2029.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and second. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Now to the consent calendar, items 9.1 through 9.3. We have any cards on consent? Okay. Any questions or comments on consent, commissioners? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move approval of the consent calendar items 9.1 to 9.3.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, we'll now turn to item 10.1. Resolution number 50-26, approving a local agency program agreement with the Florida Department of Transportation for the construction of the Caroline Street Pedestrian Access Project in the amount of $802,744, and Resolution number 51-26, approving the above-ground design features, face of the city, for the Caroline Street Pedestrian Access Project over the Stub Canal and SFRTA railroad tracks, and Resolution number 49-26F, establishing and appropriating the FDOT LAP agreement grant funding and required city match. Mr. Valbrecht.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Kevin Valbrecht, Director of Engineering Services. The Caroline Street Pedestrian Access Project obviously is something that the city definitely needs. I don't know that I can come up with the same level of intensity that this last presentation made, but this certainly is good for the public safety. So to start out here, the project location is on Parker Avenue, right at Caroline Street, which is just directly across from Fire Station 4, where the Caroline Street crosses over the Stub Canal and the SFRTA railroad tracks into the warehouse district. The project objectives are to provide a pedestrian access walkway along Caroline Street, to cross the Stub Canal and the railroad tracks, and also to modify the crosswalks that are on Parker Avenue for safer pedestrian access across Parker Avenue to utilize this. As well as one of the other features is where we're going to be having a emergency traffic signal installed right in front of Fire Station 4, which will also include pedestrian traffic signals. So to give you a little bit of history on this, we started looking at this particular project back in 2022, doing some studies about how we would possibly be able to do this. And we came up with eventually a plan to do something on the south side of Caroline Street. And knowing that this was something that was definitely a needed thing for the community, we started looking for how we were going to be able to pay for this, because it was going to be a pretty expensive job. And we were fortunate enough that back in the fiscal year 2024, looking for federal appropriations, we were able to reach out to our U.S. Congressional Representative Lois Frankel, who was very successful in fulfilling our request for funding from this through federal appropriations. That happened around the end of 2024, and that got transferred down over to FDOT to administer the grant for that. And that's one of the resolutions on this particular item tonight, is to get that grant agreement approved by the City Commission. So the existing conditions here, you can see there's only vehicular access on Caroline Street. It's two vehicular lanes. There's no way for pedestrians to walk unless they walk out in the street. That's not a good thing. So what we're planning on doing is we're going to actually build a new sidewalk on the south side of the street. It's going to be a 6-foot sidewalk with a metal beam guardrail along the edge of it so that people don't fall off of it into the canal, and a new crosswalk here on the south side that directly connects to that crosses over into Parker Street. The existing crosswalk that was put in several years ago when we built Fire Station 4, which is on the north side, that's going to get removed because it doesn't really go anywhere. Basically, the section of the new improvements are going to be, we're going to modify the street by about 4 feet to move it out to make room for a 6-foot sidewalk on the south side of Caroline Street. And overall, there will be the new crosswalks. There's also going to be a traffic signal right here and one here that's going to work for the people on Caroline Street, and then the people on Parker Street. We're adding push buttons on both sides of here, so if a pedestrian wants to cross Parker, they can push that button and that light will turn red to stop traffic in all 3 directions so that they can be able to cross safer than they currently can. This is what it will look like eventually, and this is just a nice aerial rendering of what the project will look like when it's finished. It's not the fanciest thing in the world, but it certainly provides a means for people to be able to walk across the street and get over the railroad tracks and across the Stub Canal without having to walk in the street to do so, which is very, very important. And I think we've come up with the most cost-effective means of doing this, and we have appropriations from the federal government and our own city match to be able to pay for this. So we did meet with the neighborhood associations over this over the last 4 years. Grandview Heights neighborhood back in '22. We met with Pineapple Park neighborhood this past year, as well as Flamingo Park neighborhood, and all the neighborhood associations are certainly in support of this project. The funding for this, the estimated total project cost is about $1.9 million. The FDOT grant participation for this, thanks to Congressional Representative Lois Frankel, is $802,000. So our city match is $1,089,000. We expect the design to be fully completed here in the next few months. And we put this out to bid this summer, and we expect the project to be completed probably in about a year from now, or mid-2027. So asking both that the Face of the City resolution gets approved by the City Commission, as well as the Resolution 5026 to enter in the local program agreement with Florida Department of Transportation, as well as the F resolution, which establishes and appropriates the funding for the grant agreement and the city match. So if there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer those.
Thank you for that presentation, and I also want to again publicly thank Congresswoman Frankel. I remember having to take a couple of trips up to Washington, but she was a very enthusiastic supporter of this project, and I'm glad that she was able to bring home over $800,000 for this project. Any questions? President Lambert?
Thank you. Just a comment of gratitude. Thank you so much for seeing this through to the finish line. I know when we were first visioning and having strategic plan meetings about the warehouse district, the Jefferson Terminal District, that there was concern from the neighbors in those neighborhoods, Flamingo Park, Pineapple Park, and Grandview Heights, on how would they safely access the restaurants, the stores that were over in the warehouse district. And, you know, we wanted those businesses to thrive. And so I know that people have been traversing and you know, sometimes taking their lives in their own hands, but I'm grateful to see that we now have a safe option for them. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain some motions. We have cards? Oh. We do have cards. Alec Griswold and Alex Milan. Mr. Griswold and Mr. Milan. Mr. Milan did not want to speak. Do you want to speak? All right, I'll read it. Mr. Milan did not want to speak, but he did want to say there's much needed improvements. Please approve. Okay, so Mr. Griswold.
Mayor, City Commissioners, thank you for taking your time. I'll be very brief. We're the owners of the Warehouse District, also known as now Caroline Station. I was very glad to see this come in front of you. I work there, and I live in Prospect Park, and so I see that intersection often. And when I'm coming and going from work, I constantly see people, families, dogs, strollers go down that street. And this is a great project. And as a landlord in that neighborhood, I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain some motions.
Mayor, I move approval of resolution number 51-26, resolution number 50-26, and resolution number 49-26F.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Now turn to item 11.1, public hearing and second reading of ordinance number 5161-26 for proposed amendments to the utilities element and capital improvements element of the comprehensive plan to update the 20-year water supply facility work plan sub-element and other sections of the utilities and capital improvements element as required by section 163.31776C Florida statutes. This amendment will also update the capital improvement program of the capital improvements element consistent with state requirements.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Alex Hansen, City's Comprehensive Planner with the City's Planning Division. As the Mayor indicated, these are amendments to the utilities elements and capital improvement elements of the comprehensive plan to update the 20-year water supply plan and other sections of the utilities and capital improvements element. This is required by Florida statutes. So we're complying with those requirements. In addition, we're also updating the capital improvement program of the capital improvements element. This is also consistent with state requirements. Because these are amendments to the comprehensive plan, after transmittal, which happened in early January, we are required to send the proposed amendments to the state and to a number of agencies for their review as well as comments. The only comments that we received from the multiple review agencies were from the South Florida Water Management District They suggested that we include the water service area map, which is already part of the comprehensive plan in another section that we incorporated into the water supply plan. And they also suggested some minor tweaks to policy 131 of the potable water sub-element to indicate that public education and irrigation practices are contributors to reduce potable water demand, and also to indicate that water reuse is an alternate source of water supply. So we made those changes to address the South Florida Water Management District's comments. And after adoption, we will also be submitting the amendments, the revised amendments to both the state, Florida Commerce specifically, as well to the South Florida Water Management District. Again, we're recommending approval of ordinance 5161-26 on second reading, and then to submit it to the Florida Commerce in accordance with the statutes. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you for that presentation. Any questions or comments on this item? Any cards? All right, hearing none. I'll certainly entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move approval of ordinance number 5161-26, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of West Palm Beach, Florida, amending the utilities element and capital improvements element to update the city's 20-year water supply plan and the capital improvement program CIP, stating the intent of the City Commission to amend the comprehensive plan in accordance with Chapter 163, Florida statutes, and with other elements of the city's comprehensive plan, providing conflicts clause and a severability clause, providing an effective date, and for other purposes. Oh, I was reading the whole ordinance. I apologize. The motion itself is to approve ordinance number, I kept on seeing you look at me, and I was like, what is he looking at? I wanted to talk more, sorry. Okay,
Really?
Move to approve ordinance number 5161-26 on second reading and to submit to Florida Commerce in accordance with the Florida statutes. This motion is based upon the factual testimony presented, the staff report, and the findings that the proposed amendment complies with the requirements of Chapter 163 of the Florida statutes, other appropriate state requirements, and with other elements of the city's comprehensive plan.
It has been moved. Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, can you read the ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 5161-26, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of West Palm Beach, Florida, amending the utilities element and capital improvements element to update the city's 20-year water supply plan and the capital improvement program, CIP, stating the intent of the City Commission to amend the comprehensive plan in accordance with Chapter 163 Florida statutes and with other elements of the city's comprehensive plan, providing a conflict clause and a severability clause, providing an effective date, and for other purposes.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, we'll now turn to item 11.2, public hearing and second reading of ordinance number 5165-26 for a city-initiated request for a text amendment to Chapter 94 Zoning and Land Development Regulation to add Section 94-58, Request for Accommodations, which establishes procedures to request a reasonable accommodation to zoning regulations in compliance with the Fair Housing Act and Americans with Disabilities Act.
Mayor Commissioner Angela Van, Assistant Development Services Director. This is second reading. There have been no changes since first reading.
Thank you very much, Ms. Van. Any questions, comments? There are no cards. I will therefore entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 5165-26 on second reading. This motion is based upon the factual testimony presented, the staff report, the recommendation of the planning board, and the findings that the proposed amendment complies with all the amendment standards found in Section 94-32 of the city's zoning and land development regulations.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Second. Been moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. Madam Clerk, can you read the ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 5165-26, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of West Palm Beach, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of West Palm Beach, Florida at Chapter 94, Zoning and Land Development Regulations, Article 2, Organization, Administration, and Enforcement, to add Section 94-58, Requests for Accommodations, establishing procedures for requesting a reasonable accommodation for Fair Housing Act, FHA, and Americans with Disability Act, ADA reasons, declaring this amendment to be consistent with the comprehensive plan of the city, providing a complex clause, a codification clause, and a severability clause, providing an effective date, and for other purposes.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 11.3. Public hearing and first reading of ordinance number 5147-25 for a city-initiated amendment to Chapter 2, Administration of the Code of Ordinances to update the Education Advisory Committee by establishing a mission, revising composition and qualifications, clarifying duties, updating meeting and reporting requirements, and adding a section on future goals. Ms. Rothenberg.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, and City Administrator. Kimberly Rothenberg, City Attorney, presenting Ordinance 5147-25 related to the City's Education Advisory Committee. So this ordinance is being brought forward to increase the efficiency and operational effectiveness of the Education Advisory Committee necessary to meet the needs currently of the city. An advisory board's powers and duties are limited to fact-finding and making recommendations based on the fact-finding conducted. The powers and duties that are currently codified within the code relating to this board exceed those that are purely applicable to advisory boards. The proposed amendments create a mission statement to help direct the board. It reduces the number of committee members, updates qualifications, duties and responsibilities, and the meeting and reporting requirements that are currently codified, and establishes future goals for the committee's use in the future planning. Okay, so prior to bringing this item forward, staff members presented the proposed changes to the currently seated advisory committee. The committee discussed those amendments and voted unanimously to acknowledge the amendment proposed. The code sections being amended are those that are listed on the screen, and I'm going to summarize the proposed changes individually on the following slides. So first section that's being added is in section that exists now that establishes this committee. It's section 2-76. It's amended to include a mission statement, which has two primary goals. One is to support the mayor's educational initiatives, and the second is to serve as liaison between the city school board members and the principals of K through 12 schools that are within the city's boundaries. The next section being modified in this slide is 2-77 and 2-79. 2-77 is being amended to reduce the regular committee members from 15 to 7 and to increase the alternate members from 1 to 2. This change will help to ensure that the committee can effectively conduct its meetings, but with the lower number of committee members, and to be able to ensure that, or to help to ensure, you never can be 100%, but that you can get a quorum that's necessary in order for that committee to meet. Section 2-79 is being amended to outline the composition of the committee members, which is drafted to require 3 members who are professional educators, that represent at least 2 different grade levels, and one of the 3 of those educators should be from a private or a charter school. 3 of the members are juniors or senior high school students, and 1 member is a community representative. The alternates, the 2 alternates that are being proposed can be from any of those above categories. The proposed term limits are being modified to two-year terms without renewal thereafter. The next section is 2-80. It's being amended to identify specific duties and responsibilities of the committee. Those are, 1, monitor the activities of Palm Beach County School Board and report information that they gather that will be helpful. The second is to serve as a fact finder and informational liaison between the Palm Beach County School District and the city. And the third is to develop recommendations for consideration by the commission and/or the mayor, whichever is appropriate, depending on the recommendation, that's related to developing initiatives of the school district. Section 2-81 is proposed to be amended to provide for quarterly rather than monthly meetings with the ability to call a special meeting if needed within that quarter. It requires that all meetings are noticed and that minutes are taken. That's a requirement of all boards, including advisory boards. And it requires annual reports to the commission so that they can provide any recommendations, observations, or concerns that they noticed throughout the year and discussed during those quarterly meetings. Section 2-82, which is the last we'll review, is created to identify future goals to help assist and direct the meetings that quarterly meetings that the committee has. And they will do things such as assess needs within city schools. They'll appoint a staff liaison to communicate the needs and initiatives to the mayor's office. They'll assist the mayor in identifying new members for potential vacancy as vacancies become open. And they'll rotate visiting schools annually so that they can communicate availabilities of opportunities to the city as they identify them. And with that, we would recommend approval of 514725. And I am available for any questions, and Mayor's staff, who's done some of the groundwork, is also available.
Thank you for that presentation. Questions, comments? Commissioner Baduzzi.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions, but they all relate to one another. First of all, is there a commission liaison to the Education Committee? And if there is, do they support this? And does this new organization of this committee continue to support a commission liaison?
Okay. The provision of the code that creates the liaison position is not being changed or modified, so that position remains. Who is currently in that position, I'm not certain. You'll have to, there your member is. And whether or not she is not acting as a liaison this evening, but rather in her legislative capacity as one of the commissioner, and I'm sure she'll let her opinion be known.
Do you follow?
Nothing other than I just would like to hear her opinion since she's there on that board if she supports this.
Commissioner Ward.
Thank you. I mean, they did vote to move to approve it. I think that the minutes do have some commentary, and that's why I mentioned in agenda review that I was sad to see that the meeting was canceled with the committee. I think that they thought they were going to see this one more time with some of their questions answered, and that's why I'm okay moving forward with this, but I would not vote on this for the second time without confirmation that it's been presented in front of the committee. I think there was some nervousness on who gets to stay, who doesn't. There was a will versus a may comment that I know that staff was going to get back to them about, whether it was mandatory versus optional. And there was a couple other comments that are specific in the meeting minutes. And the other comment, and I think that's pertinent that the mayor's office I know is already shifting on is the staff person and that connection to the mayor. And so I know that they're addressing that, which was just great, not necessarily in the ordinance, but within what's happening behind the scenes. I think that there is one thing though, I thought it was 2 school members, 2 school representatives, not 3 school representatives. And
I have it as 3, 2 of which, one of which can be from a private / charter school, and the other 2 from the other schools that are public schools, I would assume, since they're the only others.
Okay.
So I have it as 3. And I can double check the ordinance, but I prepared from the ordinance, so.
Commissioner Fox?
Thank you, Mayor. My question was going to be something that Commissioner Ward just mentioned. When you talk about going from 15 members to 7 members, I wasn't sure would this ordinance go into effect, and how would it be determined if who gets to go and who gets to stay? That seems like kind of a critical piece of information that we should know.
Well, generally speaking, and I want to go back to first Commissioner Ward, if I could, to address the concerns of the existing board, and just kind of lay it out there that the board was created back in 1991 pursuant to an interlocal agreement that was between the school board and the city at the time, and all of the powers and the enumerated duties that are there, and the framework of what exists today was created at that time. There's been shifts and changes of needs since that time, but one thing remains consistent. This body is the one who creates the board. The board really doesn't have the authority to direct what should or shouldn't be what you as a commission need your board to do in order to serve the city, but I just put that there. And Commissioner Fox, your question, I'm sorry.
I was just curious, I mean, when does this ordinance start? I wasn't sure if we're waiting until people start terming out, or how it was just going to be determined that we go from 15 to 7.
The ordinance as drafted on second reading would become effective in accordance with law, and that happens 10 days following if there is a unanimous approval, or not a unanimous, the majority approval of the ordinance at first and second reading. It would happen 10 days following second reading, the effective date.
As we do with any appointments that would come to.
Yes, the appointments
body.
come from the mayor.
President Lambert.
Thank you. Excuse me. My questions were along the same lines, but I'm just going to ask a little more specifically. I didn't remember having 15 members on the committee, so are all the positions filled right now?
I don't know about the current status of the positions, but I can tell you over time it was originally constituted at 9. It was changed from 9 to 15 within the last few years at the request of the board. And it's been changed a few times. I think I counted around 3, assuming I didn't miss any of the changes. But that's something the commission regularly does. It just, generally speaking, when you have a board that large, it gets a little bit difficult to get business done and also to have quorums met. Now, I don't know if that specific board's had those problems, but that is a normal problem for a large constituted board.
Well, that was something I was going to bring up with half of the board, almost half of the board being students, knowing that they have sometimes a schedule that might not allow them to be there. I was surprised to see, 3 of the 7 be students. While I love and appreciate their input, that was interesting. And so I don't know if the board had discussion about that or had input on that at all. And then my other question was going to be about staff as well, because I know that's something that we've struggled with this committee, is not having a designated staff person. But I would imagine that's not through the ordinance process?
No, it's not.
When would we have a time to hear more about that? Or is Tom Vallejo, he's the one who submitted this, is he the staff person who's assigned to this committee?
I'll let them speak to that. I don't think that he's assigned. I think he assisted in gathering information and presenting, but I don't think he's assigned. Mayor?
No, he's not formally assigned. I've had him kind of undertake attending some meetings. And I think the designation of a staff person is really up to my office. And so we'll staff it as we feel necessary, depending upon what the priorities of the personnel in my office are.
And if I may, Mayor, Commissioner Lambert, the alternates, the 2 instead of 1, is really and them being able to be from either, they're required under this regulation to attend all meetings. So if 1 or 2 of the students are missing, they would fill in.
Great.
Assuming you didn't have a quorum. Yeah.
I have an additional question, Mayor.
Yes.
I was just curious, this doesn't relate to the ordinance, but does relate to the operations of the committee. And I don't know if Commissioner Ward can give an update. How is the committee going as far as, I know with the recent grants and that process that they're overseeing? I mean, is it working well?
I think that this provides, so just to answer the quorum issue, they've had it. They've had issues with the quorum. I am nervous about the students being part of that, but with the alternates coming, I think that leads to some of the confusion is who's going to become an alternate, who's going to be the main person. Are we designating that after the fact? Because they do have more people on the board. And so I feel like, again, that's why I really wanted it to be presented before the committee again, before it came to us. But as far as the mission, it always has been a little bit murky because the chairs met with the mayor, I've met with the mayor on, okay, what is their direction? And so I think that this was an attempt to try to create more of an advisory capacity. We have some really gung-ho members who want to do more, want to say, hey, let's have this event, let's do this. And we always have to come back to, hey, we're really advising. And so in that regard, I feel like it does create some, a little bit more guidance. But I think that for those purposes, it's helped. When Sabile started coming to the meetings, it really, really helped and kind of guided that. Nurlan, my commission aide, has taken a lot of the staff duties. And so we were under the impression that Tom was going to now be the staff person and he'd be taking the minutes and he'd be attending. So I'm a little bit thrown by that because that's what we understood it to be now, and Nurlan would step away because she wasn't supposed to be the staff person ever. So I feel like that merits a little bit of conversation as well, and confusion, because the committee members are kind of confused as who is their staff person. But otherwise, I do think that I get the point of trying to guide this a little bit more, and that's why I'm okay with it, but there's still questions that need to be answered before the second reading.
Well, I don't know if you'll get the questions of staffing, because once this is I'm not going to revise staff until this is approved. And then once that is done, I'll sit down with the nominating committee like I do with any other committee, and we'll come up with some recommendations that will come to this board. So if you're saying, if you're looking for an answer to how this is going to be staffed before second reading, that's not going to happen. Once we adopt it, then I'll be motivated to sit down with the nominating committee and come up with with the members of the Education Committee, which will then come to this body to be approved.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What does the nominating committee have to do with the staffing of the committee? The staff
nominating committee makes recommendations to me, and I'm the one who makes the appointments. Now, will the nominating committee take into account who's already on there? Probably, but if there need to be some changes of that resides with me as the mayor of the city. And I'll make the recommendations, and then that will come before this body. But I'm not going to make those recommendations prior to the ordinance becoming effective, because there's no authority for me to do that. Once the ordinance becomes effective, then I'll sit down and make the decisions as to who's going to be the members of the Education Committee.
I think that's where our miscommunication. I'm talking about the staff member who oversees the committee, not the actual members.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the members.
Yeah.
I'll make that determination at some point if I do decide to put a staff person there. That's fully within my authority to do so. So we'll figure that out. Yes.
I'm not prepared then to approve this tonight, just to telling my other colleagues, because I think that the staff person is extraordinarily important. And if we're making changes, that's one huge change that the EAC has been missing this entire time. And up until just now, I really thought that Tom was taking over that. And I think that there's been a handover between him and Nurlan. So I'm not ready to then approve this, just letting my colleagues know.
If I may, there is nothing in the ordinance. I just wanted to make sure you knew there's nothing in the ordinance currently or in the draft that's being revised that identifies who the staff person is that assists the board or the committee. So that's not in this proposed ordinance.
President Lambert.
Yeah, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to ask about that, because I served as the commission liaison for this committee for many years, and it was extremely frustrating because we didn't have a staff person. And, you know, it was always wonderful that one of the commission aides, or at the time assistants, would fill in for that position. But while that's not part of this ordinance, I do think that it's important to know that that the committee has the support to execute the vision, which I do appreciate, and I liked seeing that vision. I think that that helps clarify a lot that wasn't clear before.
Commissioner Baduzzi?
I think originally I was prepared to vote affirmatively for this, knowing that we have a second vote on it. But with the concerns raised, I'm going to follow the lead of Commissioner Ward.
Anyone else? All right, if there are no other comments or questions, then I will entertain a motion. Hearing no motion, this matter dies for lack of a motion. All right. We'll now move to item 11.4. Public hearing and first reading of ordinance number 5166-26, approving the sale of city property at 202-206 North Sapodilla Avenue to Public Supermarkets, Inc. for development of a full-service supermarket. Ms. Urchak.
Nancy Urchak, Deputy City Attorney. Why is this not going to slideshow? What is... Start your presentation. Okay. Here we go. Okay, this matter involves ordinance 5166-26 regarding the sale of 202 to 206 North Sapodilla Avenue. The City Commission previously, by Resolution 272-25 last November, declared the property surplus and authorized negotiations with Publix supermarkets. Publix has desired to relocate in downtown so that they can provide a more expansive full-service supermarket in the downtown area. The new store is proposed to be at least double, or actually more than double the size of the current, offering their wide variety of all the things that Publix offers, including, bakery, florist, pharmacy, beer and wine sales, parking. This is the preliminary site plan that they've been working on. It has covered parking under, sort of underneath, and a much larger store. The conditions of the sale was the big condition that the city was adamant about was that there was some restriction on the use of the property as a supermarket for a certain term. When at agenda review, I had mentioned that the term that we had negotiated was for a term of 10 years. After Commissioner Fox's comments, Publix has said they'll make the use restriction they'll agree to for 15 years. So they've agreed to a restriction on the use for 15 years, and they'll sign and will record a restrictive covenant for 15 years for that use. They want to make sure that the city understands. I mean, it's certainly, they don't anticipate leaving after 15 years. They're putting putting a lot into purchasing the property, developing the store. They believe they'll be here much longer than that, as long as the downtown needs a supermarket, but they'll commit to a 15-year use restriction. The condition of the property currently, it's 0.79 acres. The prior uses, there's an old railroad spur on it. There was a coal bin that served a manufacturing gas plant on the property. A phase 1 environmental was done that's found mitigations needed. There's arsenic, polycystic aromatic hydrocarbons in the soil. It exceeds the target levels for soil. There's arsenic, iron, manganese, and vanadium in the groundwater that requires cleanup. It exceeds the cleanup target levels. The estimated mitigation costs were estimated between $15 and $25 a square foot. The midpoint was used, coming up with an estimate of $677,000 some odd cost for the environmental mitigation. The city code, before we sell a property, requires at least 2 appraisals for a property of this value, and the purchase price can't be less than 85% of the average of the 2 appraisals. Callaway and Price did an appraisal. Their appraisal was done after the environmental report was received, so their appraised value includes a reduction for the environmental mitigation. Anderson and Carr had done an earlier appraisal in December. They did not have the information regarding the mitigation required at that point in time. So their initial appraisal was reduced by the same $676,920, which gave them a reduced appraisal. So the purchase price that was proposed was 85% of the average appraisals, or $526,684 for the purchase price. The additional agreements require vertical construction with 180 days of issuance of the permits. Publix has agreed to a 15% local workforce requirement, and they'll hire local workforce from city residents. They'll also have an 18% small business participation with their contractors and subcontractors for construction of the project. Something that just came up Friday afternoon, clearing title to the property. There's the first plat for the city of West Palm Beach back in, I don't know when, had an alley on this property. Deeds for this property have gone back and forth since then that did not address the alley. The assumption was that the alley was abandoned. Nobody can find records of that. The title companies requesting abandonment will bring something forward to the commission to abandon so that we can clear title and make sure that goes forward. So Ordinance 516626 approves the sale for the $3.5+ million. Will require that the property and the restriction be put on for at least 15 years. It waives our city's rights to minerals, petroleum, and mining rights to the property. The property sales proceeds will go into the general fund real estate sales account, and it authorized the mayor to execute all closing documents. Estimated time frame, obviously second reading would be March 16th. Closing of the sale no later than December, the end of this year. Anticipated to probably happen before that, but since Publix is purchasing the surrounding properties, they're just trying to coordinate all the closings so that everything kind of gets done at the same time. Construction to commence 180 days after all permits. Construction completion, assuming no delays for weather or something, June 2028, or perhaps even a little bit sooner than that. And I'm happy to take any questions. There is a representative from Publix here if there's any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Urchak, for that presentation. Any questions or comments? Commissioner Ward.
Can you go back to the slide with the appraisals, please?
The slide with?
With the appraisals.
The appraisals.
And I'm surprised that alley abandonment is an emerta thing.
Oh, there we go.
Callaway and, I mean, it's such a difference. Is that, do we have an explanation as to why there's millions of dollars of difference within a month's period of time?
Other than one appraisal was done by the buyer and one appraisal done by the seller, they rate the property the same, they looked at the property the same. I went back myself to see, you know, the comparatives are basically the same. I tried to myself determine like what the significance difference was. I think it's just really buyer's appraiser and seller's appraiser.
Follow up?
Yes.
Do we have anything within our regulations that say when there's such a disparity that we're allowed to get a third? I'm not asking for that now, just, I mean, that's just so vast a difference. It's kind of alarming to think that one company would do that and then the other company, I mean, I know Anderson Carr, I don't know Callaway Price.
There's nothing in our code that requires that.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Benuzzi.
I think at some point we need to look at our code and come up with some sort of spread, whether it be if the appraisals are 25% apart or some number that automatically triggers maybe a third, or some other process of making sure that we're getting an accurate valuation for the property.
I understand the concept.
Commissioner Fox.
Thank you. I agree with my colleagues' comments, but right now I'm just very excited that we have this Publix moving forward. I live right across the street from the downtown Publix, and while the managers are fantastic and they'll order anything for you, it's a tiny store. There's, you know, it needs a bigger footprint downtown. I'm happy to see this moving forward. But I also wanted to confirm that the old Publix will remain open in the time while this new Publix is being built?
Yes, that's correct.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this item? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 5166-26 on first reading and schedule a second reading on March 16th, 2026.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, can you read the ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 5166-26, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of West Palm Beach, Florida, authorizing the sale of city-owned property located at 202 through 206 North Sapodilla Avenue for development as a supermarket for the purchase price of $3,526,684, approving a purchase and sale agreement with Public Markets Incorporated, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 11.5, public hearing of resolution number 32-26, a request by Tyler Woolsey of Shelton Bowen LLP on behalf of Family Church 1 LLC for the abandonment of a 0.261 acre, 11,355 square foot portion of the Chadbourne Court right-of-way located east of and perpendicular to South Olive Avenue within the boundaries of the Family Church residential plan development.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Tyler Woolsey with Shelton Bowen on behalf of the owner and applicant. I'm going to breeze through the first part of this presentation, and then I'll continue this presentation for the next item up. So thank you, Mayor. As mentioned, we are talking about Family Church RPD. This is on the South Flagler corridor, just south of the downtown. To give you a little context, you can see the star there on the southeast of the downtown, just outside of the DMP boundaries. This is a closer image of the existing church property. On the north half, you see the existing Family Church building. The south half is the existing parking lot with a parking structure in that southeast corner. So again, we do have a couple requests up tonight right now focusing on that right-of-way abandonment. This right-of-way abandonment was previously approved back in November 2024 when we brought the project forward. This was one of the companion applications. This right-of-way, as you can see it depicted there on the bottom left-hand side of your screen, both in the aerial as well as the dash line on the site plan on the right side, this is actually a dead-end jog of an old public right-of-way that does terminate into this property. It doesn't serve any public use other than accessing into this piece of property itself. And I will speak to you in the next application. You can see here on the right-hand side that site plan, the redevelopment actually does call for the creation of a private street. It'll be privately owned and maintained, but will serve the function of what Chadbourne used to serve as access through the site for the surrounding area. Just to, as an update, just over a year ago when this was approved, the purchase price was set at just under $3.8 million. We have agreed to an increased purchase price by $350,000, and we're now at 4.1, just over 4.1 million, a 9% increase for the request of this extension. You see here that we believe we comply with all the standards for right-of-way abandonment. I believe staff will concur, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that presentation. Any questions of the applicant before we hear from staff? President Lambert.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I missed, you said that this was approved in '24, and then why is it coming back?
That's correct. So after the approval in 2024 came along with the project has since gone into the next stage following approvals. As the design was refined, which you'll see in the next application up actually, some of the movement forward was delayed. And so for that reason, we ran up on the deadline of that prior approval. That has since expired, which is why we're asking for this reapproval tonight.
Okay, follow up, Mayor?
Yes.
And then, can you talk a little bit about the other street that you said will be privately owned, but public will have access to it?
That's correct. Yeah, it'll be a public access street. The intention is to serve, to basically pull vehicles off of the surrounding public right-of-ways so that any access into the parking lots that are serving the project won't stack up onto the public right-of-way, and I'm happy to speak to that more in the next application as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this particular item? Commissioner Ward.
I just have another comment from my colleagues. If you look at the description of the appraisals, again, it's a vast difference. We definitely need to be looking at that.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, did you also say there was a staff presentation or no?
Yes, you're right. So staff, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Luis Santini, Senior Planner, for the record, Planning and Zoning Division. So yeah, just following up with the applicants. So this application was previously approved in 2024 and is returning back again according to the resolution number 3226 for the vacation abandoning of the portion of Chadbourne Court right away. As you can see, highlighted in yellow, that's the portion of the right of way that's proposed to be abandoned, roughly 0.261 acres, and that is located within the 1101 South Flagler Drive. This application was previously approved also for the RPD, Family Church. As you can see there, the applicant unfortunately did not fulfill the payment on time and therefore is returning to this body for approval. Staff has no issues with the request and approve with conditions based on the findings of Article 8, Section 78 to 17 of the City Code of Ordinances. The applicant has agreed to compensate the city in the amount of $4,137,000 as the value for the subject right-of-way. The revenue from the abandonment shall be recorded in the General Fund Land Sales account. That completes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for that presentation. Any questions for staff? President Lambert.
Thank you. The amount that the applicant said that they're paying over and above the original price, how did we come to that amount?
I can defer that to, yes, to the applicant in this case.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Lambert. So in the same manner as the 2024 appraisals, actually Callaway and Price and Anderson Carr were the two in that case as well. It was an average of those two prices. We did the same. We took current appraisals and averaged those two prices. It is 100% of the average of those prices.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move approval of resolution number 32-26 for the abandonment of a portion of Chadbourne Court right-of-way east of and perpendicular to South Olive Avenue, totaling approximately 11,355 square feet. This motion is based upon the application submitted, the staff report, the factual testimony, and the findings of the request complies with the abandonment standards in Section 87-217 of the City Code.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, now we will go through quasi-judicial. Commissioners, I need you to make your disclosures. And we will start with Commissioner Peduzzi.
Thank you. As to item 12.1, I have had ex parte communications with Family Church and a representative of the developer. I have not received written communication. I have not conducted an investigation. I have made a site visit. I have not received any expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made a part of the record.
Commissioner Fox.
As to item 12.1, I have had ex parte communications with representatives of the applicant. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit. I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
Commissioner Warren.
Thank you, Mayor. As to matter 12.1, I have had ex parte communications with the representatives of the applicant. I have not received written communications, not conducted an investigation, not made a site visit, not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
Commissioner Ward.
As to matter 12.1, I have had ex parte communications with the applicant. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have made a site visit. I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
President Lambert.
Thank you. As to item 12.1, I have had ex parte communications with the applicant and representatives of the applicant. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have made a site visit, and I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
Madam Clerk, can you swear in all witnesses, please?
Would everyone wishing to speak on item 12.1 please stand and raise your right hand? Do you swear that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Okay, item 12.1, public hearing of resolution number 274-25 regarding a major amendment of the development regulations and conditions of approval for the residential plan development and the granting of waivers from the zoning and land development regulations for the redevelopment of the Family Church residential plan development, which consists of the Family Church campus, multifamily residential towers, and commercial use located 1101 South Flagler Drive. The above reference requests are being made by David Harrison, agent of related company, and Tyler Woolsey, agent of Urban Design Studio, on behalf of Family Church One, LLC. Mr. Woolsey.
Mayor, Commission, thank you again. Tyler Woolsey on behalf of the applicant. I will skip those first couple slides and take you here. So a second component of tonight's request as it relates to Family Church RPD is what's constituted as a major amendment because it does affect two of the waivers previously approved, again, back in November of 2024. I'll walk you through those in detail. Here you do see the approved development plan. You will see through the course of this presentation, I'll end on a comparison of the prior versus the current proposed. There is almost no difference that you can tell from this site plan perspective. The change is almost entirely architectural, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a moment. So as mentioned, the purpose of these modifications primarily is to enhance the architecture. After the initial approval and through the course of approvals, we did hear from both this board and others, as well as members of the community, that they would like some refinement in the architecture. The applicant has since gone and done that as they've moved ahead in their design efforts. One of the biggest changes that you'll see is an equalization in the residential tower heights. Previously, the north tower, as we'll call it, was 32 stories, whereas the south tower was 28. Effectively, 2 stories are being pulled out of the north tower and 2 stories are being added to the south tower, which again, you'll see in elevation in a moment. Overall, the maximum height of the project was reduced by 19 feet in this equalization of tower height. So we are not increasing, we're actually decreasing the overall building height here. One other interesting feature that you'll see is the west podium deck. Where it's still the same height. The entire roof now is fully enclosed and amenitized at the roof level. And as we just went through the extension of the Chadbourne Court right-of-way abandonment. So here you see a side-by-side comparison reflecting both the architectural upgrades as well as that equalization of tower height, as mentioned. So you see the north tower previously was at just over 348 feet tall. That's since been brought down to 325, whereas the south tower has grown by about 26 feet to just under 330 feet there. As far as the architecture goes, we did hear some feedback that the community did not necessarily love the maybe honeycomb beehive feature that you see on the previously approved version. Similarly, we did get comments and a desire to enhance the facade treatment on the parking garage, particularly that facade fronting Flagler there. One thing that I can say that the architect has done an amazing job of increasing the glass, increasing the visibility into the building, but also carrying that design language from the podium up through the vertical tower elements and really creating a project that looks and feels cohesive from the pedestrian realm on Flagler all the way up to the top of the tower. Get a little bit of a better look at those changes here. So you can see we've pulled in some of the undulating features of the building, which I'll speak to again in a moment as it relates to setback changes. And then you do get a bit of a feel there on the podium, where again we were going from garage screen that mimicked a sort of beehive effect to now a vertical and horizontal waving element that we think is indicative of that Flagler waterfront. One of the other features, as mentioned here, is the enclosure and amenitization of that west podium. So on the left-hand side, you see previously we had, call it a third of that podium roof with an amenity as a sports court. The other 2/3 of that would have been the exposed parking on the level below. Now, in the updated design, we have fully amenitized and enclosed that roof deck. Again, there's a 4-inch difference in the parapet height as it's been fully enclosed, so no material change to the actual height there. But we are now accounting for 2 full-size tennis courts as well as pickleball courts, a walking track, and significantly increased landscaping at this amenity roof level. One other minor change that you'll see here reflected is just a change to the east podium. This is the other parking podium's roof deck. On the left-hand side, you see the prior design. The right-hand side, you see what's now proposed, creating some more secluded areas throughout that design rather than having everything open there in one plane to the pool. To get technical for a moment, I will show you this here is the reason why this is a major amendment and it breaches the minor amendment threshold. The first waiver that you see there, we are updating the minimum acreage for the RPD. We did receive approval to reduce the acreage to the 10 acres that's required just slightly. As a result of that Chadbourne Court right-of-way abandonment, we are now increasing just slightly by that just over a 1/4 of an acre lot area. And then you see some of the change there to the building height and setback waiver as previously approved. I'll remind you, the setbacks for an RPD are based off of building height. So our required setbacks changed slightly as North Tower shrank and South Tower grew. And we also have a slight change in the actual proposed setback for the South Tower, which I'll walk you through graphically here in just a moment. Here, just representing that slight increase in site area. And I can tell you for its number of projects as I've done on the South Flagler corridor, this is the closest the site gets to the 10-acre requirement. Here you see the south side of the site, particularly drawing your attention to that clouded area there, where you see the proposed setbacks as approved in the 2024 application. That's a side corner and a south side setback, with the side corner just under 53 feet and the south side to the east at 55.5. So showing you that delta here, as mentioned, the undulation in the tower element has changed slightly. So at one point where we were at just about 53 feet, that setback to that side corner has shrunk to just under 50 feet. That's just over a 3-foot reduction there. And similarly, to balance that out, the undulation as you move further south is actually pulled further back into the site. So we've increased the setback by just over 6 feet there. And again, as mentioned on the prior application, you see here the difference in the approved versus the proposed site plan. There is almost no change. I'll say graphically, one thing that might call your attention is the parking lot on the north side. It was actually a graphical error in the prior approved version of this, where that looks green. That actually is a parking lot in the approved version as well. There's no change to the north half of the site, the Family Church and Palm Beach Christian Academy side of the campus. The changes really do live on the south side, where the tower height equalization has occurred, as well as fully enclosing that west podium deck, as you see there. We comply with all of the waiver standards, which staff is in agreement with, as well as the standards for an amendment. We continue to agree to all of the previously approved conditions that are assigned to the project, and staff planning board did unanimously approve this major amendment request back in October. There has been a bit of a lag because we were updating the Chadbourne Court right-of-way amendment. That's the reason for the delta there. And again, we continue to agree with staff on the conditions and their recommendation. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant before we call staff up? President Lambert.
Thank you so much. I realize that this was not part of your presentation, but since you're bringing it back to us, and I know that this is a hot topic, especially today, can you talk a little bit about your parking management plan for this construction?
Absolutely, yeah. So you may know that some of the existing permits and renovations, restoration efforts for the church have begun. They've been in for permit. They're actually doing work out there. That's one thing that's going to help with some of the construction management here, as they're able to get some things done ahead of the south side going into progress. One thing that we have going for us here that you don't really see on most of the other projects that come before you is the size of the property. While we're not quite at that 10 acres, 9.89 acres is a significant area. It's the most significant, as mentioned, you can find on the corridor. The developer for the residential component has been very successful in their parking management for the project just south at South Flagler House through the course of construction. They have far less area to work with as we do here on this property. So we will be working with the contractor and with the city to make sure that before we go to permit, before shovels in the ground, we have a parking plan that is blessed by city staff and to make sure that we're not having any issues on the surrounding roadways out here.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant before we call staff up? All right, staff, what say you?
Again, good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Luis Vicentini, Senior Planner for the record, Planning and Zoning Division. As the applicant just stated, this amendment is coming back again for a major amendment to the RPD, Family Church. This RPD has been previously approved back in November 2024, and it's coming again for a reduction on the acreage waiver and a change in the residential tower heights and the south setback, and as well as change to architectural components, amenities, extension of the tennis court on top of the garage. There has been no change to the existing historical church building, just for the record. And again, as the applicant already stated, acreage waiver number 1 is in regards to the reduction of the waiver, the previously approved waiver, from that statement there, from 9.636 to 9.897. As you can see on the request, the applicant already showed the changes. They're basically coming for a better harmoniously envelope for the building, for the 2 residential towers. Staff concurs with the changes, the architectural changes as well. The top of the honeycomb envelope was not the best proposal, and I'm very glad that they came back for this different architectural development, as it seems to be much more in line with what we have currently here today in West Palm Beach. And as the applicant already stated, also it actually impacted some of the setbacks of the south tower. The applicant made some minor changes, and staff is in agreement with those. So based on the review and the documentation provided, staff approves subject to the conditions based on the findings that the petition meets the required statements in section 9432 of the City of West Palm Beach zoning land development regulations. I'm open for any questions, comments, and concerns.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 274-25, amending the development regulations and granting waivers for the redevelopment of the Family Church Residential Plan Development, RPD, which consists of the Family Church campus with school and accessory daycare use, 2 multifamily residential towers with commercial use, and 2 parking garages. This motion is based upon the application submitted, the staff report, factual testimony, the recommendation of the planning board, and the findings that the request complies with the comprehensive plan and the standards according to section 94-32A, 94-35C, and 94-207 of the city zoning and land development regulations.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, it's now time to take comments from the public. We have a few cards. I'll read your names. You can start making your way toward the podium. Sam Oversight, Patricia Burlaw, and James Lennon. Sam Oversight.
Good evening, Mayor,
Commissioners. I publish under the channel Sam
Would you
Oversight.
state your name for the record, please?
You can call me Sam.
And address. For the record, state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, I am a Palm Beach County resident. I reside in Palm Springs at 316 Riverdale Road.
Thank you.
I publish under the channel Sam Oversight as an independent observer of publicly accessible government spaces. I'm here tonight to respectfully request clarification and review of the recording policy currently posted and enforced at the Mandel Public Library. The library's behavior policy states that no audio or video recording is allowed within the library without prior arrangements, and that failure to comply may result in suspension of privileges, ejectment, or arrest. Staff also informed me that permission must be obtained in advance through the city's communications department. My concern is not about being disruptive. I support reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions. I support privacy protections. I support maintaining a quiet and safe learning environment. However, public libraries are government-operated facilities funded by taxpayers and generally treated as limited public forums. Courts have recognized that recording in publicly accessible government spaces is protected under the First Amendment when done in a non-disruptive manner. Additionally, the policy states that patrons are subject to being recorded at all times while on city property through the library's surveillance system. At the same time, patrons are prohibited from recording within the facility without prior approval. I respectfully ask the Commission to clarify how that distinction is being applied and whether the current policy is narrowly tailored to address legitimate privacy and operational concerns while remaining consistent with constitutional protections. My goal is not confrontation. My goal is clarity and alignment so that both patrons and staff understand exactly what is permitted. I appreciate your time and service to the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Patricia Berlaw.
Hi, thank you. My name is Patricia Berlanga. I reside at 729 Park Place. I've been a property owner in the city for 32 years. I'm probably the longest property owner on my street, Park Place. I'm here to speak about a couple things. I don't approve of the tall building that Family Church is going to. I think that we have too many tall buildings, and it's casting shadows on the historic neighborhood. I own property in Flint, Michigan. I am from Flint, Michigan, and I participate in their council meetings. So I think they have a problem with quorum. Their commissioners don't show up often, and their mayor never goes to the meeting. So thank you, Mayor. This is different for me. Anyway, I don't approve of any more tall buildings in the neighborhoods. I think that the next thing Family Church will ask for is to build a taller parking structure. I used to be a member of that church. I love that church in the old days, Pastor Keith. Anyway, I'm also here to speak about the parking permit. Being a resident for 32 years, I do pay property taxes. I think that street parking should not be permitted. And if it is permitted, I think it should go to a citywide vote. And if you are going to do one neighborhood parking permit, the whole city should go. So I think that that should be something that we vote on as a whole in the city. I don't think each individual neighborhood should regulate their own. When I first moved to Grandview Heights, no one wanted to live there. 1994, I was approved for a small loan for a house. I had to find a house within the city in a certain targeted area because I was my income level. I I qualified for grants from the city. I did get $25,000 from grants from the city and state to fix my house, and I really appreciate that. I have maintained my house for 32 years, as I say, and I don't know how you would do parking permit around Howard Park, because it is a public park with the dog park. I don't see how that's feasible. The Armory Arts Center is there. And it's a public place where people can go. I will say that recently I had someone park in front of my house. I was not familiar with the person. I followed him down the street almost to Dixie, and finally I said, "Hey, sir, you know, where are you going?" He said, "I'm going to the Armory Arts Center." I said, "Well, they have parking." He said, "Yes, but I can't afford to park there."
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
James Lennon.
Hi, James Lennon, 767 N Street, Grandview Heights. Fortunate segue, parking. I moved here 5 years ago to get away from the regulation of my life by locals, by people who have nothing better to do than tell us how we should live our lives, how we should park, who can't, when they can park, when people are visiting you, how they should park. We have a ton of parking spaces in Grandview Heights. We don't need any parking restrictions in Grandview Heights, okay? I realize that people are upset about a lot of the development. I just saw a big development approved here unanimously without much debate. I don't really know what that's all about. And Commissioner Lambert proposed it in a motion. We only have so many roads. You might consider actually letting some of the ones you've already approved be finished, developed, and filled. See how it affects traffic before you approve more. You know, otherwise it's a race to, if not the bottom, maybe not somewhere so good. But I came here to talk primarily about the parking. Most of the residents are not in favor of regulating parking in the neighborhood. It's just another pain, it's another regulation of life. So I know that there are some people who are unsatisfied with that, and now they're going to their elected officials. I've sent you an email, Commissioner Lambert, earlier. I would obviously encourage all of you to think about the density you're creating in this city. It's not just about tax dollars to pay for things that we don't need until we have that density, by the way. It's about balance of life. That's why we're here. We moved here. We didn't move to Miami or Fort Lauderdale, okay? So I'll leave you with that. But the parking side of it obviously is a fallout now that people are using to further regulate. Just at the end of the day, just leave us alone. Okay? Please. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now take comments from the dais. We'll begin with you, President Lambert.
Thank you so much. Since we were talking about parking, that was one of the items I wanted to talk about. First of all, I want to say thank you to the staff who, for many months, and I think we're coming up on years, have been having these conversations with the neighborhoods. And I remember when we first started having the discussion about parking permit programs, it was really interesting because one of the neighborhoods who really wanted it and fought to be the pilot community that this would go into, when it came down to putting the policies and plans in place, they decided that they didn't want it. And so then the city moved on to the next neighborhood. And I understand utilizing permit parking to address some issues, but it is not a catch-all answer. And I appreciate hearing from the residents who spoke up today. I heard from many others who understand the need for it to solve specific issues, but not as a blanket answer for everything. That being said, I do think that we have of course, growing construction in our city and making sure that we hold the developers to the construction parking management plan is very important. And I know staff have been very responsive to that, so thank you for addressing that and responding. And Administrator Johnson, thank you for sending us a very comprehensive list of actions that have been taken over the last almost 2 years now, including parking violations for people who broke parking laws in those neighborhoods. So thank you for that. I wanted to mention a few events that took place in our city recently. Oscar, who plays softball or baseball at Phipps Park. Phipps Park had their grand opening, or their opening day on Saturday, I believe it was, before all the rainstorms came. Mayor, thank you for being there. They honored Officer Angel Vargas in throwing out the first pitch, as he has coached many teams there. And actually, the young man who's now a big guy was the catcher for the baseball that Angel threw. It was really great to see so many families out there. It's a beautiful park, thanks to the work that the city has done there. I also had a chance to attend an amazing event for the Boys and Girls Club, which I wanted to share with you. I don't know if any of you have attended the Boys and Girls Club, I think it's Youth of the Year Award. And so each of the clubs that they have in Palm Beach County, they end up selecting one youth from each of their club. And then they have 7 clubs currently, an 8th on the way, where they then compete against each other, where they give a 3-minute speech. They have a production video done about them. So many of them brought us to tears, and mic drop opportunities for these kids. They were phenomenal. And it left me extremely proud of the work and the partnership that we're doing to bring another Boys and Girls Club to this community, and I just wanted to share that with you. Just another organization doing great things in our community. I attended a United Way Veterans United event where they celebrated 50 years of women in U.S. military. They had slated a 4-star general, lieutenant general, and another colonel who was there. And these women giving back to the community, mentoring other women, and supporting women in the military as well as any public service. It was really inspiring, and it reminded me a lot of what we do here on this dais, and I just wanted to share that with you all. The final thing I wanted to bring up was this item that has been in the paper, and I don't know if my colleagues have received a lot of calls about this, but the downtown art on the garage that's being repainted. I've received a number of calls about this. I think our downtown art program has become iconic and well-known many places across the country, and especially on Instagram. And that one piece in particular of the 2 youth there is particularly of interest. I only know about what I read in the paper about this, but it mentioned we have plans for future public art, possibly there. I have been outreached by the DDA board members. Many of the board members reached out and said, they would make the motion on their board to help fund and either to restore the current art that's there and to find the artist and have that person come back, or put a plan in place to replace it. And so I don't know if we have any input on that, but I think that the community, knowing that we have plans to work on that, would appreciate it. The last thing I want to say is best wishes to my colleagues, Commissioner Fox and Commissioner Ward, on their election on March 10th. Please, I encourage you to come out and vote, and thank you all so much for being here today. This is part of the public service process, and we appreciate you being here and encouraging your friends to vote on March 10th. Thank you.
Commissioner Peduzzi.
Thank you, Mayor. Following Commissioner Lambert's comments on the iconic artwork that we have, that particular piece of artwork, I believe, is iconic in this city. It's probably my favorite piece. I think it just shows and celebrates the innocence of youth. And if there was some way to preserve it, that would be wonderful. I know that when I go to other places, I have heard people mention that particular piece of artwork as being, a wonderful addition to our city. And then just wanted to briefly address Mr. Oversight. I'm not sure if that's actually your name, but to Mr. Oversight, I do appreciate your comments. And contrary to what you might think, I think that when people come here and make comments, it keeps us on our toes. It makes us look at things that we're doing to make sure we're doing them correctly and properly. And I would just ask that if administration can look at that. I mean, generally speaking, we cannot prohibit videotaping in public areas where there's no confidential information that's displayed. Those portions of the business or government entity that are open to the public you can videotape. And we've got video going on here. We have, you know, and a lot of our facilities are under video surveillance anyway. So I would just ask if city administration or our legal department could just take a look at that and make sure we're doing everything appropriately. And then finally, I just wanted to wish a happy birthday to my wife. I'm not sure if she's listening or not, but it is her birthday today, so happy birthday, Erin.
Commissioner Fox.
Thank you. Well, happy birthday, Erin, from all of us. I, too, wanted to ask about the mural on the Clematis Garage. I've heard from quite a few residents who are extremely disappointed by not only painting over this mural, but others, the Camelot mural, the Drama Works mural, and it seems like there's not any communication about this happening, and then they're just gone. And so I'm just curious, I also heard from representatives of the DDA and board members who expressed willingness to collaborate with us on paying for the repairs and any improvements that are needed. They can be in touch with the original artists and are happy to reach out on our behalf. If there is any way that we can press pause on this and reconsider if there's a way, you know, collaborating with the DDA to pay for these fees that are needed for the repairs, I would just ask that we consider that, and I think this is something that adds to the character and the charm of our city. It's something that people really associate with Clematis Street in general, and I'm sad to see it go. So if there's anything we can do to reconsider, I would certainly support that. Thanks.
Commissioner Warren.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to say happy birthday, Erin. And I also encourage everyone to get out and vote on March the 10th. I'm looking forward to 2 more years with my colleagues. I think that you all have been doing an amazing job. I do encourage people to pay attention to the votes, pay attention to everything that happens up here and the way that people come out and show up, which really leads me to happy Women's History Month. Women's History Month is more than a celebration. It's a moment of reflection and gratitude. I stand on the shoulders of women who organized when it wasn't popular, led when it wasn't welcomed, and persevered when it wasn't easy. Their courage opened doors that once seemed permanently closed. Because of their sacrifice, I have the privilege to serve today. This month, we honor not only the well-known trailblazers, but also the mothers, educators, advocates, business owners, and community leaders whose strength and determination shaped our neighborhoods and our nation. I'm especially grateful to the women who serve alongside me on this dais. Your leadership, dedication, and partnership strengthen our work and our community every single day. It is an honor to stand with you as we continue building a future where every girl sees leadership as her birthright and every woman knows her voice matters. May we continue the legacy of those who came before us by opening even wider doors for the generations of women and girls who will follow us. Thank you.
Commissioner Ward.
Thank you, Commissioner Warren. That was very beautiful. And happy birthday, Erin, if you're listening. I do want to follow up on a couple of comments. One, I have received comments on the murals on the parking garage, and I found out with the rest, we had the press release by the city and then coverage, and I'm hoping that we looked at options before we made this decision and what we came with, and it seems like we've got parties willing to contribute to make sure the children are maintained, and frankly, the typewriter that says West Palm Beach Dream Bigger, I always am moved by that, and I absolutely love that, and I would assume that that's more easily recreated than the mural of the 2 students, or the 2 children. And then as for the parking, there's 2 things. So one, I feel like, and I'm sad that some of the commentators left, but I think that when you put this on the people, that's exactly what we're doing. We're not dictating from the dais. We're saying, hey, 75% of people, do you want this in your backyard and on your streets, and limited for that reason? And I think that that's appropriate. And to President Lambert's point, one neighborhood really was pushing for it, and then they realized, no, they don't want it. And that's that is actually the democratic process at its more finer point. And so I encourage people to be active with their neighbors and show up to your neighborhood association meetings, because absolutely things get approved and passed and move forward without you knowing, because maybe you weren't participating for a couple months and you had other things going on. It happens. But, you know, life moves on. And so I feel like you continue to be active with your neighborhood association, because then you know what's going on in your neighborhood and maybe see another side to it. And I appreciate, Administrator Johnson, thank you for detailing out that memo and giving us the background. It was extraordinarily helpful. But as far as the construction management plans, and again, President Lambert, I appreciate that comment, because it's becoming a challenge, and I don't know how we manage the oversight of it. Northwood Village has been suffering from this for a while. You know, we gave everybody the notice, hey, construction, pardon our dust. We had the management plans, worked with staff to make sure that they were done. We consistently have subcontractors parking in places they should not be parking and really hurting our local businesses in the process. 25th Street is one of them. Staff is aware, but I mean, it's oversight. It's having the parking division out there. It's having cops monitoring. I would hate to have radical change like changes in parking admin and some of the things that they're asking for, because it is construction related. And then once that change is made, it's made permanently. But people are talking about, hey, do we get meters? Do we get 15 minutes only just to solve this one problem, which we are supposed to be solving with our construction management plans? So we do need to be looking at that. We need to be looking at better oversight and figuring out a way to handle this, because it has gotten out of hand in Northwood, and staff is aware. This is my first time bringing it here because we've been continuously trying, but I just keep hearing, and we're clearly not. We're not fixing it. And the more construction that goes on in the city, the more and more small businesses and neighbors hurt along the process. We really need to be vigilant on that. Otherwise, those are my comments. Thank you.
Just a few comments. I want to take a moment to recognize our police chief, Tony Araujo, who will be representing the city of West Palm Beach in a community fundraiser supporting healthy mothers, healthy babies of Palm Beach County as they celebrate 40 years of impact. On March 24th at 10 a.m. at Lake Lido Park, Chief Araujo will compete in a friendly free throw challenge to help raise funds for programs that support moms, babies, and families across our county. This is a great example of how our leaders show up for the community, not just in times of crisis, but in moments that bring people together for good. We'll be cheering you on, Chief. Just a reminder that daylight savings time approaches this weekend. Sunday, March 8th at 2 a.m. Residents, please spring forward your clocks. And while you're adjusting your clocks, it's a great time to do a simple but important safety check at home. Replace the batteries in your smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. These devices play a critical role in early warning during emergencies, and keeping them in working order can truly save lives. Making this quick check part of your daily saving time routine helps protect your home and keeps our community safer. I encourage everyone to take a moment this weekend to make safety a priority at home. As a couple of members of the dais have said, Election Day is next Tuesday, March 10th. Please go out and vote. That concludes my remarks for tonight. Good night, and God bless you in the great city of West Palm Beach. This meeting is adjourned.